I mean, it's very hard when Israel is being attacked and stuff. It's hard to, you know, it's hard.
It's not easy, huh?
It's
Crazy
not
stuff.
easy when your family is being attacked,
Yeah.
and this is happening over and over and over again, and you want to talk about world peace when I think the world was created for the Jews.
Well, let's discuss how everybody in the world has a important role and how we have to understand what that role is. You know, all these wars and everything, they're based on jealousy. If people are healthy, then they respect themselves and then they respect others. But
not the Arabs. The Muslims don't have that. The Muslims want to kill the Jew. They've always wanted to kill the Jew.
Yeah, but think about it. Why would someone want to kill someone else unless they're jealous of them? Meaning, the normal human motive is, I want to be friends with you, right? Children always seek friendship. Unless they're like a bully, there's something wrong. They're suffering from an internal shame, and that shame becomes hate. You know, the Hebrew word for hate is sina. The Hebrew word for jealousy is kina. The inner word of both sina and kina is nun aleph. It has a word na, which comes from the word on, which is to annihilate. It's the nature. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a little mosquito hovering around me. So I hate the mosquito, so I kill it, and I get a pleasure from killing it. Now, if on the other hand, I have a jealousy of someone, like mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all? So that jealousy creates that I desire to kill it. But the thing is, I can't say, oh, I want to kill that person. It doesn't look good. The truth is the Arabs had no problem doing that. You know, they did the War of 48. They said very clearly, God forbid, we're going to just kill all the Jews. And the War of 67, again, we'll kill all the Jews. To them, that's, then what happened was Russia got involved, and Russia's very good at propaganda. So Russia taught them, and the guy that actually did this for Russia, he was the head of the KGB of Romania. In fact, he was Jewish, and he emigrated he was the top Russian defector. So they came up with this whole lie that there was an Arab, a Palestinian state, and that they're victims. For thousands of years, they were killing Jews. Suddenly they're victims of an Arab state. And it's very interesting what he said there. You see, Russia had three major goals. It was very interesting. A lot of people don't know this. Russia is totally into one thing. They still are. Basically, using propaganda. Now, the way propaganda, it's not like a stupid propaganda. They get somebody from inside the society to promote their own agenda. So they'll find some kind of moron that's got an issue, and they use that to destroy the society within. So there are three things this guy writes in his book. The book is called Disinformation. Everybody should read it. And the three things are, number one, they were pro-gay and lesbian. Very interesting. This whole gay lesbian stuff, it's all from Russia, because they knew you make a society gay and lesbian, the society's gone. The second thing is anti-Israel, because the Stalin, the guy was he was an evil person. He hated the Jews. So they made this whole thing about Zionists and Palestinians. The whole thing is not true. The Zionists created a state 70 years ago. That's it. The Palestinians are just Arabs. And in fact, they came from all over when the Jews started the state, and they gave them jobs. Suddenly they became Palestinians. And then the last thing is basically was anti-West. And all this crap in all these universities about hating America, they don't even realize it was Russia propaganda in their head. So the bottom line is, but one of the things he wrote there, why did Russia, they use the Arabs? See, the Russians don't care about anyone. So they brought Arabs, even Abbas, he got a degree from a Russian university. They brought these people in, they gave them the protocols of the elders of Zion. The former king of Saudi Arabia used to give this out to everybody. They basically, not that they needed a lot of help, but they brainwashed them. Now, says there that very profound statement. They use their ancestral hate. So the Arabs have a hate that goes back 4,000 years. Know what that hate is?
What?
You see,
What is the hate?
I'll tell you. This is something that I came to a conclusion, and I have a friend who's a former terrorist, and this guy basically wrote this in a book called The Mind of Terror, and once in Arafat's Man, and he did a doctoral thesis on it. The Arabs hate the Jews because Yishmael got kicked out of the house. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that Muhammad, he rewrote history. He made Yishmael the guy that was offered on the sacrifice. In other words, he said, and people don't think about this, how did Yishmael feel when he was kicked out of the house? He was 13 years old. He was a big boy. And he thought he's the son of Abraham. He's such a special person. In fact, they still take great pride that they come from Abraham. And so this created tremendous shame within him, an internal shame. And now people have jealousy. So they're jealous of the Yitzchak. They're jealous of their stepbrother, basically. And that's where this deep hatred, this Arab hatred comes from against the Jews. However, what I wanted to focus on is how we, now here's a good story. Here's a good story. When I met this guy the first time, I had read his book and I met him. So I heard him say under his breath as follows. Now remember, the guy was a killer. He was a PLO terrorist. He said, I could take an AK-47 and kill him, but this is what God wanted. Very profound. In other words, this guy realized, in fact, I actually did a video with him. Not that I think we have anything to apologize for, but because I understood the Arab mindset, what's bothering them, I did a video with this guy where I said, if we did anything as Jews the past 4,000 years to offend you, I asked for forgiveness. And he did the same. And he told me that he cried. A former terrorist was crying when he saw that, because that's the key thing in their heart. But, now here's the but. How do we overcome? And this is what he said. He said, but this is what God wanted. He understood that God wanted there should be Jews and there should be Gentiles. In fact, I'll go further than that. God wanted that there should be stars. Stars have a consciousness. They have a soul. There should be planets. There should be raccoons. Everyone in God's creation, their angels, each and everything has a place. And only when we understand our place are we at peace with ourselves, because we all need to know what our place is. Imagine you have a ship, and that ship is going, but nobody understands what their role is. So it's going to be chaos. It's just a matter of time before you'll get some bullies or trying to take over. But if everyone understands their place, first of all, you feel good. The captain knows he's a captain, and the server knows he's a server, and the waiter knows he's a waiter. The chef knows everybody feels good about themselves. They know they have a purpose. And the other thing is, we're all part of the same team when you realize you have a purpose. We're all in the same boat. We're all serving the same function. I just have a different role in this. And this is the key thing. I was saying this to you earlier, that there are only three kinds of opinions, three kinds of worldviews. There's a worldview that says, basically, my way or the highway. And there are many different ways of saying that. That could be secular atheism, or I shouldn't say secular, radical secular atheism, which a lot of the radical left has become. That could be the Nazis, God forbid. That could be communism. That could be a religion, right? I'm sure there are a lot of moderate Muslims who believe, polls show us there's 1.4 billion Muslims, 700 million are moderate, and 700 are what we would call radical, meaning it's my way or the highway. And Islam, in fact, has a belief. It's called the Ummah, that the whole world will be under Islam. And they say it's a religion of peace, because once they conquer everyone and force everyone into Islam, then there'll be peace. But that notion will never work. Why? Because you're living in nuclear weapons. Maybe in the olden days, you can go and chop off some heads, and it's a question of which army is stronger. Today, you nuke, they'll nuke you back. You can't win a war. You can't force everyone to be Islam anymore. And this is a very important thing. I want Muslims to watch this and to realize this. Either Muhammad was a terrorist, or he had a goal. One of the two. Either the guy was a vicious warlord, like if you look at it from our Western perspective, which really is a Judeo-Christian ethic, which is where Islam comes from as well, it would seem that the guy was just kind of a warlord. Actually, a very nice imam. He's from Pakistan. He's involved in kind of making peace. He told me that Muhammad fought 4 wars for every year of his leadership. I think it was a leader for 30 years, 4 wars. So if you think about that, what were a lot of those wars? I don't know. They were like taking caravans. It was like robbery and then gruesome evil. I mean, the Jews of Qurayza, he slaughtered them and he was raping their wives as he was killing. It was sick stuff. So either Muhammad, their leader, is just like, I don't know, a sick person, or you say he had a belief system. He had a worldview. He wanted to bring, of course, as a Muslim would know, they're very against idolatry. He wanted to get rid of idolatry, get rid of paganism. So then you have to stop and ask yourself a second question. Is killing somebody doing what Muhammad wants? You know, the Muslims, they're different groups, but they have something that when Muhammad comes back, there's like going to be 94 versions of Islam, and 93 of them are going to go to hell. So you better be on the right version of Islam. And basically, what is that version? If that you're saying that Muhammad just wants you to murder, so you're saying Muhammad's a murderer. That's what you're saying. He's not a human being. He's not a prophet of God. God came to help us be better people. So, in other words, you have to assume that there's one of 3 possibilities, and this is really the only reality. Possibility number 1 is I am right and you are wrong, and therefore I will do everything in my power to submit you. In fact, the word Islam comes from submission. It could be submission to God, but it could also be submission that people are meant to submit. And the second thing is a different approach. And this is where democracy has really made a very positive difference in the world. And democracy says, listen, okay, be whatever you want, but let everyone else be whatever they want, right? That's like the American version of democracy. They were basically pilgrims. They were persecuted for their religion. They said, hey, we don't persecute people for their religion. That's not, by the way, a massive thing, because most countries said, this is the right way. You don't like it? We're going to persecute you. They said, no, you can be a Jew, you can be a Muslim, you can be anything. We don't mind, as long as you're an upstanding citizen. But there has to be a better way, because what ultimately happens in the democracy that we have now is you get to chaos. So everyone's saying, okay, my way, my way, my way, my way. Okay, the government protects everybody from saying that, but we don't have unity. We've got these clashes now. That's not cool. So there's a third way. And this is the secret of Judaism and Jewish mysticism. In fact, mainly Jewish mysticism. So a lot of Jews themselves don't know this. And this secret is what brings us internal peace and external peace. And if you are watching this and you like what I'm saying, I want you to forward this video. And it goes like this. God has a place for everybody. We're all on a ship. The ship is going forward. Whether you like it or not, the ship is going forward. We didn't make time. Time made us. It's going forward. Life is going forward. Ideas are going, everything's going forward. So now, either you're going to be part of the wisdom of Jewish mysticism, which is the secret of the Torah, the essential wisdom, which says that we all have a place, we all have a purpose. Generally speaking, a Jew has 613 commandments, a Gentile has 7. But we all have something that we specialize in. And yes, if you're a man, be a man. If you're a woman, be a woman. And obviously, a woman's primary role is to bring life into this earth, as a man is. A man is there to help a woman is there to help the man. We're here to be mutually effective. And that's the most important word that's ever been said in human history. Mutually effective. In other words, I'm here to be effective. You're here to be effective, and we're here to be mutually effective. It's not my world or your world. It's our world. It's everyone's world. God made the world for everybody, and we all have a place in this world. You know, there was a guy, he was like a marketer for Rolling Stones. He was young, very bright Jewish boy. He came to the Rebbe. He said to the Rebbe, okay, let's say, and this sort of addresses your first question, let's say the Jews are the chosen people. So does that mean that there's no space for, I don't know, an Indian, a black man? Is that it? The Jews are chosen? So it ever said a Jew must be the best Jew he can be, and a black man must be the best black man he can be, and an Indian must be the best Indian he can be. We all are chosen by God to be who we are. One of the things the rabbi said, you like that interview, is he said, you be yourself, everybody else is taken. The one person that you can be that is unique is you. And that's the key message here, that we are all unique, we're all chosen by God. And obviously, God wants us to be mutually cooperative, mutually effective. In any religion, in any group that's terrorists, that say, okay, we got to get rid of the others because we're right and they're wrong, basically they're Nazis. That's all they are. So I want anybody who has that opinion, look at the Nazis and say, am I a Nazi? You got to wake up and you got to realize that everything is made by God. If you're a believer in God, then God made everyone and everything. It just means he has special roles. And I'll conclude with this idea that Zusha said, before he died, he said, when I get to heaven, they're not going to ask me, why weren't you Moses? I'll say, Moses? I'm no Moses. How can you compare me to Moses? They're not going to say, why weren't you Aaron? Aaron was such a kind guy, a nice guy. They're going to say, why weren't you Zusha? And so that's the story. Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah.
The question is, you were speaking about the Muslims and why they react the way they do. My question is totally different.
Yeah.
Why did the Jews allow the Muslims to do what they do?
That's a good question.
I remember when I was in school and I
Yeah.
had a bully.
Yeah.
And my mother would always give me money.
Yeah.
And I would always pay the bully off not to bother me.
Yeah.
But all the other kids that were not Jewish, their parents always told them to fight.
Right.
If the bully comes over, punch him in your face.
Yeah.
Punch him in their face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was taught something different.
Yeah.
Why was I taught something different? And make peace and accept what's dysfunctional and make it normal.
Right.
What's wrong with that thinking?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can go into that, but I definitely agree with you. I think the Jewish people have, I think that they've suffered so much in their history that it's almost like they call it like an abusive person syndrome, you know? And the truth of the matter is that we should wipe out the terrorists. And the truth is America is guilty of the same sin. You know, if somebody says, I'm going to kill you, there's a mitzvah, the same God that said, do not murder, says 4 laws out of the 613 laws. If somebody is going to murder you or someone else, hashkem v'harga, kill him first. And that is a moral duty. A guy, I heard the story from a rabbi, he's in Ithaca, and there's a lady, a Jewish lady, she was married to a congressman, and she said, I want you to speak to my husband. He has negative opinions about the Jews or Israel. So he said, sure. He goes to the congressman, the home, the guy was probably retired. Then he says, listen, when Israel came, he was an older man. He thought it would be a real light unto the nations, and now whatever, you're kind of attacking these terrorists, whatever. So he said to him, listen, Congressman, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. He says, if somebody's going to come to kill you, do you kill him because you have to defend yourself, or do you have a moral obligation to kill him? He says, Rabbi, I never thought about that. He says, it's your moral duty to kill him because you, first of all, shouldn't allow him to murder, and you shouldn't allow anybody else to get murdered. So if I was a prime minister of Israel, I would say to all the schmucks in Gaza, you have 1 day. If you don't stop bombing us in 1 day, I level Gaza. How do you think America won World War II? I remember speaking, I was in Germany, I was speaking to a German. In one night, in Dresden, they dropped bombs, they killed 400,000 people in one night. So, to your point, a war is
That's
not...
also Japan too.
Right. So the point is that you have to be able to distinguish between an aggressor and a victim. Now, again, it's like the left has been brainwashed through this Russian disinformation campaign, but anybody that I mean, look, the percentages are 70% support for Israel in America, 70% in India. That's already 1 billion people. That's already like over 10% of our planet supporting Israel just in one country. So the truth of the matter is, anybody that has a heart and a brain sees the fact that these guys are terrorists. And to your question, I think you're absolutely correct. There's Jewish people. If you're a country, if I'm the prime minister of a country, you're attacking my country, I'll wipe you out. What kind of stupid craziness is that? But that's a separate issue. Main thing that I wanted to speak about today is the idea of how to have world peace. And it's my hope that the Muslims themselves come to this realization. And I think it's a very important realization, because there can be any religion or non-religion. Unless you get this point, you will never have inner or outer peace. Why? Okay, you can put yourself in a bubble and say, I'm right and others are wrong. And that's what most groups or people do. But the point is, we all want there to be peace. Unity is a basic function of the human being. So you have to have a mechanism. It's not enough to say, I want peace. You have to have a mechanism. I call it spiritual technology. That's what Jewish mysticism is. It's spiritual technology. And the way you get peace is through this idea. You understand that I have a purpose. None of us are random. I have a friend who is Professor Zeb Dickman. He graduated from Oxford. He was a professor of reproductive. He was the first guy that measured the size of a human egg. So he was a genius in this field. Now, this is coming from a guy who's secular, but this is what he told me. He says, listen, it took evolution. I believe in God, but still, I'm just bringing out a point. He says it took evolution, 7 billion years, 7 billion years to create a rat. And a rat can create a rat in 27 days. Now you tell me how it's possible from a scientific perspective that something that could take 7 billion years to occur can occur in 27 days. So the point is that each one of us is created. We now know for sure, science is telling us that everything, the whole world is popping in and out of existence all the time. So if that's the case, what does that mean? It means that if we're created for a reason. If I make a robot, I don't make a robot because I'm bored. I make a robot because I need a robot. If I make 7 billion robots, it's because I need 7 billion robots. I'm not in the robot making industry for no reason. And so each one of us and each and everything that God made is here for a purpose. And if we accept that upon ourselves, that I have a purpose, so it elevates my spirit. I matter. And once you have an elevated spirit and you matter, you're not jealous of the other person. Not only that, the other person is a compliment. So I just want to conclude that the bottom line is that we have an obligation to understand that we're here for a purpose, and also teach others that they're here for a purpose. And it's the only way we'll get world peace. Any thoughts?
No, you summed it up very well.
Okay. All right, guys. I want you to please take this really serious. I want you to think about, when you finish this video, if you made it here, you're not too ADD, think about how you have a purpose. Think about what that purpose is. And think about how you're going to spread the notion to everybody that they have a purpose. Because once we have purpose, we have inner peace. The more people that believe this, we have world peace. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care.